It's so late. Thanksgiving has blown out. My steep schedule. However, I don't want to get too terribly far behind, so I am going to finish going over the Dead by Daylight perks, because that, as I mentioned earlier, was more for myself and not for content. So that's what I think I'll do. First things first, sound check. It's so late. Thanksgiving has blown out. My steep schedule. Good enough. We are going to slide down. What was it? I think we looked at 101? Yeah, 101 survivor perks is what we looked at last time. And then today we're going to look at the other 90-ish. Yeah, 90 killer perks. Most of these perks you see all the time, meta or old in the game. So I'm more focused on newer perks. Most new perks were killer perks, so I mean, most of these are going to be summarized. I hope to get through all of 90 of these perks. I can't say within an hour because I've already wasted a couple minutes, but I would like to get them all done within an hour. Let us begin. Nurses calling. Auras of survivors healing within 28 meters are revealed to you. Agitation. Movement speed is increased by 18% when carrying a survivor. Tear radius is increased by 12 meters. Bamboozle. If you vault through a window, the entity will block that window for 16 seconds. Barbecue and chili. Every time you hook a survivor for the next 4 seconds, any survivor that is farther than 40 meters gets revealed to you for 4 seconds. Didn't know that added blood point gains for the first survivor being hooked. Beast of Prey. Huntress's perk. Whenever you get bloodlust, you get the undetectable status effect as long as that goes, and it also gives you blood points now. Bitter Murmur. Every time a generator is complete, you see the survivor's ores that within 16 meters of that for 5 seconds. At the end of the last one, you see all survivor ores for 10 seconds. I used to run the heck out of Bitter Murmur on my doctor build. So good. Blood Echo. When hooking a survivor, all other survivors suffer from the hemorrhage status effect until healed, and exhaust status effect for 45 seconds. I didn't even know this is a thing, so this is what most people who were making perks were trying to go off of. I mean, it pseudo makes sense. I mean, the Oni was implemented before the Scourge hooks and all of that, so it wouldn't make sense to nerf his to be a Scourge hook to inflict a status effect to survivors. I do agree that how it's implemented is sort of fine, but I also see the potential problems with it if you go by this. This is also, again, why I understand why people are getting these weird effects on hooking people when they try to punish other survivors. Now, the way this is implemented, when hooking a survivor, all other survivors suffer from the hemorrhage status effect until healed. This punishes the survivors for not healing. It doesn't just guarantee that you're going to get the hemorrhage status effect. Only if you are already injured and bleeding, which means you didn't take the time to heal or find somebody to heal. Because in all instances, if the killer is chasing somebody else, downs them, picks them up, and hooks them, you should have had plenty of time to heal yourself. This is not including self-care. When they say healing, does not include self-care. When self-care comes, I will say self-care. If I say healing, I only mean medkit or circle of healing or something like that, that 16-second timer. But you definitely should have been able to heal the 16 seconds during the time they're chasing that person, slapping them down to the dying state, picking them up, and then hooking them. So if you're not healed, you start getting the hemorrhage status effect after somebody else gets hooked. Be it the curse of the Oni. Just this particular perk is grandfathered in now. If it had to be re-implemented, it would definitely be part of a scourge hook. And anybody that's been hooked there probably get an effect, or anybody that the Oni has hit will get the effects. Because the exhausted status effect going to every survivor. Ooh, I sneezed. The exhaustion status effect for 45 seconds is kind of BS, but I mean there is 60-second cooldown between both. 60 seconds, for all you know, is one hook state, one phase. So that's kind of meh. It is what it is, but it also is what it ain't. If you're playing a regular game in a regular lobby, generally every time a survivor gets hooked, it's going to activate. If you're in a pretty bad lobby, the 60-second time limit kind of saves the survivors from just constantly being the exhausted. Now, there are perks that make, Vigil. We went over last time. Gives you 33% decrease or something like that in status effect timer. And that would take out like 15 seconds, so you'd have 30 seconds of exhaustion. The 45 seconds, I mean, it's the same exhaustion timer as if you used majority of perks. Generally, the exhaustion timer goes anywhere from 60 to 45 seconds. I don't necessarily agree with that. If you're going to be exhausted, you should be exhausted for only 30 seconds. So the perk doesn't essentially just force you to use your ability and you have to wait the full cooldown. So as I said, you're looking at anywhere from 45 to 60 seconds exhaustion. So this perk should be nerfed down to 30 seconds of exhaustion. To be triggered once every 60 seconds. Because just that much essentially nullifies Dead Hard and Sprint Burst and things like that. Granted, I rarely go up against an Oni that actually runs Blood Echo. So I guess it's not really that good with the hemorrhage and exhaustion versus meta perks, but still, Blood Echo really it's not very good. I mean, I could see it being good, but if you're a really efficient killer, you'll get one activation per 2 survivor hooks. If you're not, you'll get one per, like I said, in a regular lobby. Just regular people, not high level, just regular lobby, regular CAS. Solo queue, they'll get like one and activation per hook. If you're looking at SWF and higher level lobbies, you'll get one per 2 hooks, and one activation per 2 hooks. Which I mean is a lot of pressure, because if you take Dead Hard away from survivors, it will cause a problem, but still. Blood Warden. As soon as exit gates are powered, or open, not powered, open. If you hook a survivor, entity blocks off the exit for 60 seconds. You can also see the auras of survivors standing within the exit gate. Around the exit gate, actually. It's not just in, it's around. Bloodhound. Pools of blood are shown white or bright red, and they last longer. Brutal Strength. You break pallets, breakable walls, and kick generators faster. Pallet break strength, but brutal strength is 1.5 seconds. Kick time, I've never even looked up how much kick time is. Claustrophobia, this is one of the perks that they allow for everybody. When a gen's completed, all, I was going to say exits, but that's not true. Windows in vault locations. So basically, windows become blocked for 30 seconds. Very gnarly on some generators. I've actually had it happen to me one time when the killer was actually coming towards me, and I was like, well, I only got 2 A's to go out, and he just kind of stood there and zoned me. Corrupt Intervention, you'll see this sometimes. It blocks gens the first 120 seconds. I always thought it was 60 seconds. Nope, it is 120 seconds. And I've always said 60 seconds, even when I were doing reviews. It's at 120 seconds. Has it changed? Has it always been there? I don't know. The 3 gens farthest located from you are blocked for 2 minutes. Calorophobia. Is calorophobia the fear of clowns? Because I thought calorophobia was the fear of like the little dots and everything. I don't know. Healing speed of survivors within tear radius is reduced by 50%. This essentially makes Circle of Healing without a med kit take about as long as self-care. And this makes self-care absolutely useless. Coup de grace. Extra lunge distance, 60%. Dark Devotion. Hitting the Obsession with a basic attack makes them have the tear radius for 30 seconds. You get undetectable. Dead Man's Switch. I've never played Deathslinger except in PTB. So let's see what he does. After hooking the Obsession, Dead Man's Switch activates for 45 seconds. While activated, any survivor that stops repairing a generator will cause the entity to block that generator. Affected generators are highlighted with a white aura. Deadlock. Pinhead perk. Entity blocks the generator with the most progression for 30 seconds when the gen is completed. This stacks very well with the artist who can pop a generator and make a person scream who's on it when hooking on a Scrooge hook. Then on top of that, you can have Deadlock. If they do complete a generator, it blocks off the next one. Deathbound, Executioner, or Pyramid Head. Whenever one survivor heals another survivor, they scream. Then the person gets the Oblivious status effect. It has a little bit more like, yeah, you get the Oblivious status effect when farther than 8 meters away from the healed survivor. So you technically have to stay near them or you're not going to be able to see the executioner's tear radius. Doesn't really matter that much. This perk does not activate when you're within the killer's tear radius, which is 32 meters. Dear Stalker, you can see the auras of everybody that's in a dying state within 36 meters. Discordance, if there's 2 or more people working on a generator, 2 or more survivors working on a generator, you get a notification and the generator glows yellow. Distressing, which I use on my doctor build, increases your tear radius by 26% and apparently grants 100% blood points. Dragon's Grip, if you walk up and kick a generator for the next 30 seconds, if anybody else walks and touches that generator, they scream. They also get the exposed status effect for 60 seconds. And apparently, no. That's it. Dying Light, Michael Myers. You become obsessed with one survivor. As long as the obsession is alive, you get a stackable 3% penalty. Well, no. Rewind. I never talked about the activation. Each time you hook a survivor that is not your obsession, you get a stackable penalty. 3% penalty. Up to a maximum of 33%. That affects all actions. Well, besides vaulting. The obsession is granted a penalty. Enduring reduces pallet stun duration. Eruption from Nemesis. Anytime you kick a generator, its aura's highlighted in yellow. If you put a survivor into the dying state, every generator pops, and anybody touching it screams. And get the incapacitated status effect, which enables you not to make any type of actions. Fearmonger. Whenever a survivor is repairing a generator, they suffer from the blindness and exhausted status effects. It also lasts for 5 seconds after the survivor stops repairing. Fearmonger gets its particular power because if the survivor is already exhausted, the status effects timers will be paused. And that is where it gets its power. Fire Up, you get tokens each time a generator is completed. Up to a maximum of 5, and all actions are done faster. Force Penance, I hate Force Penance, but whatever. Survivors who take the protection hit suffer from broken status effect for 80 seconds. I'm not stopping very long on these. Like I said, this is kind of a for me thing, not a come and learn the status effects or perks. I know most of these, so I'm just kind of flying through the ones I know. Like Franklin's Demise, killer hits you, you drop your item. If you don't get the item within 90 seconds, you item goes poof. Entity eats it. When the item's on the ground, everybody can see the aura of the item though. Furtive Chase. This is a Ghostface perk. I don't think I use Furtive Chase. It just increases your or decreases your terror radius while you're in chase. I clicked on you like 20 minutes ago, UBA Soft, but okay. Gearhead, Deathslinger perk. After hitting a survivor twice with your basic attack, it activates for 30 seconds. Each time a survivor succeeds a great skill check, the the generator will be revealed by yellow aura as long as it's being repaired. Good skill check. The basic attack does work on his harpoon pull attacks. If he harpoons you, pulls you in, and then hits you, that does count as one activation. So if he harpoons anybody twice, then that activates a Gearhead. It's a excuse me. It's decent zoning perk, where you can see how many gens are being worked on at one time, etc., etc. I, for one, still prefer Ghostface. It's a little over half. It's 16 seconds. However, whenever you pick a survivor up, every time, every generator that's not being repaired is blocked. And if they stop repairing a generator during that time, it blocks it off. So I mean, to pick a survivor up and then to look around, either is going to stop the survivor from working on a gen for 16 seconds because they don't want me to know that they're there. That's still a waste of time. Or they're just going to continue to work if they're not really knowledgeable about the Ghostface, and I now know where my next targets are or what gens are being worked on. Granted, I ain't played in a long time. Grim Embrace, I went over this when I was going over the artist. Entity blocks generators for 30 seconds after every survivor's hooked for the first time. They added in the aura of the obsession is revealed to you for 4 seconds to try to buff that up. Hangman's Tricks, that lets you know if a hook's being tampered with. Also, if you're carrying a survivor, you can see the aura of other survivors near any hooks. Hex Blood Favor, if you slap a survivor with a basic attack, all pallets within a radius of 32 meters, kill radius or tear radius, for the next 15 seconds are unable to be interacted with. Well, pulled down, I should say. Hex Crowd Control, anybody who, there we go, perform a rush vault through a window, gets the window blocked. Hex Devour Hope, every time every time a survivor gets unhooked and you are at least 24 meters away, you get tokens. The more tokens you get, the deadlier it is. It starts out with just haste status effect. Third time, permanently exposed. Fifth time, you are granted Mori ability. Hex Haunted Ground. This hex goes on a totem. If the totem is broken, survivors are exposed for 60 seconds. If you run Hex Undyne and Hex Haunted Ground, and they hit Haunted Ground, it'll activate twice. But if they do find Hex Undyne first, then the hex just goes away. So you got not a 50-50 chance, but you have a chance of getting a double Haunted Ground activation. And those of you who have stuck through, for me blowing through these perks, the double Haunted Ground activation is extremely good. Like, extremely good. I'll go over Hex Undyne later on. Huntress's Lullaby I use on my ghost face. Every time you hook a survivor, you get tokens. When you get 5 tokens, warning sounds go away. No one escapes death. As soon as the exit gates are powered, you get a haste and you have the ability to one-tap survivors. Hex Pentimento is what the artist gets. Any totem that's destroyed, you see the aura, you can rekindle it. Every rekindled totem adds a negative penalty to survivors. These include 1 healing, 2 repair, 3 recovery, 4 gate opening, 5 all totems are blocked by entity. Hex Plaything, you hook a survivor on a Scourge hook. When they get off the hook, they have to find said totem and they have to cleanse it. Hex Plaything goes well, I suppose, with Hex Pentimento. But I mean, anytime that I've seen Hex Plaything, I never personally run over and even do anything because, I mean, it's Pinhead. There's nothing really super terrifying about not seeing his terror radius. You still get his chase music and things like that. So it's not really necessary to run and find that cursed totem. Plus, after 90 seconds, other survivors can interact with it anyway. But I recommend not destroying that totem. Just playing it through. You won't be able to technically get terror radius and things like that, but I've only seen it ran on pinheads and newer ones at that, and it's kind of like, yeah, not that great. I don't even know how they could make this great because, I mean, no. Oh, also, the thing about Hex Plaything is it gives the survivors a curse status effect, so anybody running like Soul Guard, I think it is, that only activate, or the part that activates lets you get back up. It's very good if they're running Hex Plaything, because you can just run with that individual thing. Hopefully survivors won't take that totem out. And it's a good trade-off. Hex Retribution Gunslinger perk, let's go over this. Survivor cleansing any totem suffers from the Oblivious status effect for 45 seconds. After cleansing or blessing a hex totem, the auras of all survivors are revealed to you for 15 seconds. Hex Retribution goes very good with Haunted Grounds. Could go good with Hex Undying. It does take the power of the double Haunted Ground activation, though. It interferes with that. Well, it can interfere with that. But that goes very well with Haunted Grounds. Somebody pops it, bam, you can see all survivor auras for 15 seconds. That at least gives you value. But I mean, if you're vigilant and you're good at zoning and you know where all the survivors are, most of the time, when a survivor is about to break a totem, you will generally be near somebody. Ruin. All generators automatically regress at 200% of the normal regression speed. Ruin regression speed, I think, is every 4 seconds survivors lose 1%, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, it's not too terribly efficient, but it's also, you know, every gen's losing 1% every 4 seconds. So, I mean, it is stackable. But Ruin isn't as great as the old Ruin, but the old Ruin kind of got thrown out because people were getting good at getting great skill checks. It's why I'm able to consistently get great skill checks when I want to. It's all due to the fact that Old Ruin, you had to hit those great skill checks or the generator would regress. And it sucked. I miss Old Ruin. I wish they would convert that back as opposed to just everything just keeps getting regressed instead of just the crap that you're working on, you know? But anyway. Hex the third seal. The last 4 survivors hit with either a basic or special attack suffer from the blindness status effect. Not really that great if you know the game. I mean, it would be devastating to new people because they won't be able to see the auras of generators or totems or anything that their perks are directly related with. So, very devastating to people that use support perks and things like that and don't know the game. Not very effective to somebody who's used to the game. All you gotta do is when the person goes down, watch where they go down at. And when they get hooked, watch where they get hooked at. Then you know. Thrill of the Hunt. I always confuse this with Hunter's Lullaby. I call Thrill of the Hunt Hunter's Lullaby every time. This is what Thrill of the Hunt actually does. For every totem remaining in an environment, survivors suffer from a stackable 10% penalty up to a maximum of 50%. There's only 5 totems in a match, by the way. You get stackable blood points, 10% per totem remaining. Thrill of the Hunt way back when used to give you a notification when a survivor worked on totem. Way back when. I guess they took that out. That kind of sucks because that's I mean the stackable attack speed or action speed and all that. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means, but the fact that it got rid of the notification we're working on totems, it's kind of meh. Hex Undying. For those of you that can't see this clearly, it's a hex totem that has a black little half triangle thing on it, and it's the same totem mirrored, and it has a white triangle on it. You will see this a lot in games, or anybody's running hexes. Hex Undying is very good, especially Haunted Ground wise. Some people run it with Ruin, which is kind of meh. If Ruin goes, it goes. But whatever value you got out of it's still going to be positive. Another perk would be better suited. But I mean, if you rely on Ruin to get things done, I guess it's not bad. Any survivors within 4 meters of a dull totem are revealed to you. Very, very good. But the crux of this is whenever a hex totem is cleansed, Hex Undying deactivates and transfers that hex to another dull totem. And turns it into a hex totem, of course. Order. All about chest. Anytime a survivor touches a chest or picks up an item or does anything like that, the twins are notified of the action happening. I'm not going to go into meters or anything like that because that generally extends throughout most of the map. If you touch a chest or pick something up, they're going to know. It does spawn 2 additional chests in trial. Hysteria. Whenever you put a healthy survivor in an injured state, all injured survivors get the oblivious status effect for 30 seconds. Not very good. Let me tell you why this perk's not very good. But this is also one of Nemesis's meh perks. if you are chasing a survivor and you hit them for that first hit, it's generally going to take the majority of that timer to down that survivor again, unless they're just absolute doo-doo. Which makes Hysteria very, very, very lackluster. Because you hit a survivor, they're going to run another loop, so they're probably going to get, at bare minimum, another 10 seconds on you before you can down them again, unless they're just bad. So, you're probably going to get less than 20 seconds of value here, which doesn't really matter, because this is all normal lobby talk, by the way. In advanced lobbies, you're probably not going to get anything out of this. By the time you knock them down, pick them up, hook them, do all of that, deal with all the bullcrap of getting to the hook, because people are going to body block you, etc., etc. You're not going to get any value out of Hysteria. I'm all ears. I use on my ghost face any rush action. Excuse me. Within 48 meters, their location's revealed for 6 seconds. Has a cooldown of 40 seconds. Infectious Fright, that's a plague. I dislike you. Any survivor dying near you will make everybody else scream. Well, anybody within her terror radius scream. Insidious, you sit still for like 2 seconds, you become invisible. Iron Grasp decreases wiggle speed by 75%, or wiggle effects, and increases wiggle duration by 12%. Fully decked out Iron Grasp would allow you to go 17.5 seconds. Let's keep that in mind. You can walk 17.5 seconds. There's a long YouTube list of comments that I haven't went back since, because I'm kind of trying to let it die out. Everybody was trying to say, like, I basically just said the killer would have basically gotten all the kills and all of that and had no issues because he was running Iron Grass. I mean, he was running Agitation and Iron Grass. Agitation, as we went over, makes you go faster when you're carrying a survivor. Also increases terror radius. But they're running Agitation and Iron Grasp, and people were like, well, that person wiggling and all of that would have made the difference and all this other stuff. And they tried to bring up the fact that the survivor wiggling and doing all of this other stuff would make the killer slam against things and rub against them and all of that. It's like Iron Grass decreases wiggle effects by 75%. You're not going to wiggle and move and do all of that. Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I didn't even comment back because obviously that person was a little ignorant of the game. So I didn't even comment back on that particular thing because they obviously don't know how the perk works. That and Agitation allows you to just zoom across the map. What he wasn't understanding is, because he was running Agitation and Iron Grasp, it didn't matter. He was still going to get to the hook. The only thing that would have changed is the amount of speed if the survivor was struggling. The only thing that would have changed in that particular instance, if the survivor was wiggling, as he would have just went directly straight to that hook, hooked them, and then got the other survivor with a little bit of time that he would have saved. And I tried to explain that, and they're trying to use the fact that they did the little back and forth and the survivor faked, and a whole bunch of things happened before he got a Blood Warden activation. And everybody was so focused on the Blood Warden activation, nobody, even when I pointed it out multiple times, nobody thought about that, hey, what if he just walked to the hook and then went over and slapped the already entered survivor on the gate? He could have easily walked straight to the hook, hooked that survivor, walked over to the gate, slapped that survivor down, and then picked her up and hooked her. without even the blood warden activation or any of that. I tried to point that out and they all looked at me like I was crazy. And it started this long, like 100, 200 message, just arguments. I don't say arguments, debates of me with random people. And them trying to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm like, bro, I literally just explained everything that could have just happened in that scenario. Everything. I even false baited them with an incorrect thing just to make them say, yeah, see, you don't know everything. And then I flipped it on its head and I was like, that scenario can't happen. I'm just trying to bait you guys to see if you have any type of argument or any type of analytical skills to prove me wrong. Which they didn't. When it comes down to it, somebody's going to say no and people are going to bandwagon because they're looking for drama. It's that simple. Human beings who are bored look to engage in some sort of something, usually drama, because they're feeling content. Human beings do not like the feeling of contentness. You could complete all of your life's goals and you could sit down in a chair and just relax, have a sigh of relief, feeling good about yourself. Guess what? That's not going to last for long. You're going to eventually get up and get moving and looking for other things to do. Even though you've completed your life goals, human beings do not like the feeling of contentment. That is human beings' ultimate curse. It's that feeling of contentment that ends up causing problems for people. People who feel primarily good about everything, you know? You feel like your life's complete at that moment, everything's going, great. Then boom, just like that, everything restarts again and then you're back into more crap. And it's because the human beings cannot appreciate the feeling of contentment. It's why there's general problems. Then you have jealousy. When you lose your feeling of contentment and then you go out looking for something and somebody else is having their feeling of contentment, human beings feel jealous of that person when you're the one that exited your own feeling of contentment. But now you're jealous of that person because they're getting more, they're having their moment. And it's just funny how human nature just cycles like that. Anyway, Iron Maiden. You open lockers 50% faster, and survivors who exit lockers suffer from exposed status effect, and their locations are revealed for 4 seconds. Jolt, when you put a survivor into a dying state with a basic attack. All generators within 32 meters of you instantly explode and start regressing. You do get an 8% penalty even if a survivor's there. Knockout, I refer to quite a lot because a lot of people want to incorporate knockout in different ways, but they're just taking the perk and then they're just either buffing it or adding some extra things to it and trying to incorporate it as their own perk. Knockout's good because as soon as you knock somebody down into the dying state, their aura will not be seen by anybody that's 16 meters or farther. Only for a short amount of time, though. Even though this says all of this for 15 seconds, unless they changed it. Because I don't think knockout lasts for very long, and that's why I didn't particularly enjoy that perk. Maybe they fixed it. Maybe it's just not in here, because I don't think knockout lasts for very long. You get hit down, you get the concussed effect. Everything looks like blurry and all of that. Yeah, decrease FOV, blindness status effect, and then you crawl slower. the crux of this is they crawl slower, so you can still go back to them later on, which is good for camping Bubba or running Bubba, whichever one, who gets extra speed on his chainsaw using his cords. And then the aura. If a survivor isn't within 16 meters, they can't actually see that person where they went down at. Again, if you just pay attention to where they go down at, because there's still sound, there's still a small indication of when they initially go down. And then when they get hooked, etc., etc., it pops up. Lethal Pursuer. I see a lot of people talk about Lethal Pursuer. Some people say that it's a good perk, some people say it's a bad perk, some people say it's only good in specific builds. But I mean, that's like every perk, right? So how Lethal Pursuer works. At the beginning of the match, all survivors' auras are revealed to you for the first, was 5 seconds in the beta, but now it's 9 seconds. I always thought it was still 5 seconds, but they buffed it. 9 seconds is ridiculous because, well, you essentially get free chase and almost a free hit, depending on spawn locations, because somebody always spawns right near killer. So that's almost an immediate chase. Lightborn flash or blinds no longer work on you when they reveal their aura for 10 seconds. Mad Grit, you do not have a cooldown on your hits when carrying a survivor, and you can pause the timer per hit for 4 seconds. Mad Grit is the anti-body blocking of survivors perk, because they jump in front of you, they try to block you, you slap them. Wiggle timer pauses for 4 seconds. If another one walks out and tries to take a hit, whack, another 4 seconds. Mad Grit is extremely good in most cases, because they're going to take hits and try to block you and try to flashlight you and things like that. It allows you to take that extra time to punish survivors without being punished yourself. Would I ever run Mad Grit and Lightborn? Probably not, unless I see like all flashlights in the lobby. But I mean, Franklin's demise kind of takes care of that problem as well. But I mean, if you have a game like I had where one person wants to run No Mither and they want to play Protect the President on your expense, then Lightborn and Mad Grit would be very, very well run together. Because as soon as they figure out they can't blind you, all they can do is body block. If you have Mad Grit and they figure out that they can't body block you, then they have no choice but to gen rush you and go to the next game. It forces them to hurry up and GTFO. You might not get a 4-piece or anything like that, but at least you're not going to be harassed, and you're not going to have to put up with this BS. Make your choice. If you unhook, or if the survivor unhooks another survivor within your terror radius or 32 meters, they get exposed. Monster Shrine, it makes the basement hooks a lot more effective. I did not know Oni had a perk called Nemesis. That's actually funny. Each time a survivor blinds you using a pallet or locker, they become the new obsession. The survivor suffers from the oblivious status effect for 60 seconds, and their aura is revealed to you for 4 seconds. Seeing as though the stun lasts for about 3 seconds, that's actually not that good. This is just allows you to get the oblivious status effect on them, and then shift obsessions. There are some perks and some creation perks that go very well with obsessions. If you are trying to build up anything that involves obsessions, or at least hitting your obsession or doing something to your obsession, getting getting purposely pallet stunned to shift that obsession over, and then continuing to pursue that survivor might be good for you. That's about the only value I see of that. I mean, getting the oblivious status effect is good because it's essentially stealth. Essentially, it's not stealth. The stealth gets rid of your red stain. Oblivious does not. It just gets rid of the tear radius. But that can be used in creative ways. No Way Out. It's a trickster perk. He blocks exit gates for 12 seconds. And then additional 12 seconds per token. You gain tokens for each survivor you hook for the first time. So if you hook all 4 survivors, you can get a maximum of 60 seconds. It's not bad. It goes well with Blood Warden and NOAD. So you run a NOAD, Blood Warden, No Way Out, probably Hex Undying at that point. Just so they can't take out your NOAD. Not bad. Then after they do eventually get the ability to open up the exit gates, you hit them with the Blood Warden on top of that. And you see their aura because they're trying to escape. It takes 1.5 seconds, though, to hook a survivor, plus an additional, I'd say about 0.5 seconds to Blood Warden to completely activate afterwards. It only takes 2 seconds for them to get, well, it takes a little over 2 seconds for them to get through the actual barrier. So, unless you are absolutely pixel perfect, they're probably going to escape before you get that hook in. Just keep that in mind. Oppression. Damage in a generator. Up to 3 other generators begin regressing. And if the generator is being worked on, you trigger a difficult skill check. Overcharge. Doctor perk. You kick generator, next survivor that goes to generator gets a tremendously difficult skill check. Well, difficult skill check. It's usually tremendously difficult and can very easily be missed if you're not seasoned at the game. Overwhelming Presence. Any survivor in your tear radius, item efficiency goes up 100%. Or depletion rate goes up by 100%. So if you're running a basic med kit which has 16 charges and takes 16 seconds, you can no longer heal yourself with the med kit basic. It's going to take, you're going to get, after 16 seconds, you're going to have 50% heal. Or 8 seconds worth of heal. Play with your food. A lot of people love to run play with your food on speed builds. Each time you chase your obsession and let them escape, play with your food receives 1 token up to a maximum of 3 tokens. Each token provides a stackable 5% haste boost up to 15%. Performing a basic or special attacks that can damage survivors consumes 1 token. This is a very, very, very balanced perk. It also has a cooldown of 10 seconds between token accumulation. Very, very, very balanced perk. And if you Again, are running Oni's, what was it, Nemesis perk? Where you can switch obsession back and forth. You get pallet stun, kabam. They become the obsession. You're technically still in chase. If they run away after chase or flashlight you or anything like that, you will get a token from that. Generally, anytime they drop a pallet on you, you're going to get a token out of that. If you don't get your token immediately, by the time you kick it, you're going to. If not, all you have to do is pull back behind the wall or out of sight for a second and then continue pursuit. 15% would be, let's see, 4.6. That would be 4.69. No. Yeah. 4.69 speed is 15. It's not terrible, but I mean, if you think about it as survivors move 4, killers move 4.6. So every meter, essentially, that a survivor goes, the killer is going to gain on them 0.6 of a meter, or 0.4 of a meter, versus gaining 0.6 of a meter. So in essence, well, it's about, what, a third faster? If you go meter wise, if without attacking or anything like that, you just go 1 meter. Killer's 1 meter behind survivor. No attacks, anything, just basically running. It's going to take a little less than 2 seconds. It's going to take like, or not 2 seconds, a little less than 1 second. No, yeah, a little less than 2 seconds. The killer running at regular speed to catch this survivor. It's going to take like 1.8 seconds. If you increase everything to 4.6 seconds, now it's going to take like 1.4 seconds, essentially, for you to catch a survivor. So, I mean, you're saving like 0.4 seconds every second when you're chasing a survivor with a max stacked out play with your food. Don't sound like much, but I mean, if you have to go 10 meters to catch a survivor, that point 0.4, now you've saved 4 meters of walking distance catching that survivor. And I mean, you go meters fast. You're traveling 4 meters a second. Keep that in mind. 4 meters per second. So it adds up to a very significant amount of speed. Also, NOAD is like, what, 4% haste increase by itself? And you're getting essentially 4 times that. Does decrease every time you hit a survivor. It does have a nice cooldown on the end of it. This makes this very good. It's also stackable with other perks. This is one of the most balanced perks that aren't just superly OP. Very balanced. I would go as far as to say this perk, well, nothing is 100% balanced regardless of what you do, but I will give it an anywhere between 90 and 95% check mark. Pop goes the Weagle. Pop goes the Weasel. After hooking a survivor for the next 45 seconds, any generator you regress loses 25% progression. It's very good. You can basically just keep hitting them for 25%. Every hook, 25% pop. Hook, 25% pop. These go extremely well with the artist's new perks and Nemesis and all the ones that regress. Keep in mind that Pop Goes the Weasel does not stack with Ruin. Does not stack with Ruin. So I don't think it stacks with Ruin. I don't know. I feel as though I've been playing and Pop is just activated at a distance, though. Hang on. Does Pop... Yes. Alright. So Pop Goes the Weasel does not work with Ruin. I didn't think it did. According to that article that I just read, even if Ruin gets deactivated, Pop doesn't work? That don't make sense. Wraith, Predator, scratch marks last longer. Rancor is an interesting one. When all gens have been complete, Spirit can kill the Obsession. They also get the exposed status effect. Very, very scary if you're the Obsession in a Spirit match. But also, Rancor goes well with Dione's perk. And play with your food and things like that as well, because you're going to be transferring the Obsession. So, boom, you get pallet stun. Boom, you get that Mori. You walk away, next survivor you run to, boom, gets a pallet stun. Boom, you get a Mori. Or what generally happens, the survivor doesn't realize you have Mancore and you decisive strike them. And then they just catch back up to you and Mori you instead of taking that hook. I see that happen way too many times. It's like if they have Rancor, or if you're going up against a Spirit and you're not the Obsession and you're down and you have hooks, take the hook. Once unhooked, run towards exit gate, which is hopefully already open. Then, if you get picked up, use the decisive to get to the exit gate. Because if not, you're just going to get Rancored. I like how this only, well, in parentheses. Scuff stream daily, baby. I like how, in essence, Rancor can only affect one survivor, unless, you know, they're running Obsession, Transfer Perks, or Decisive, or something like that comes out. It's great because even if you're having a terrible match, you can still at least get one kill. On the flip side of that, it also gives you that terrifying feeling if you're a survivor and just happen to be the Obsession. That feeling of fear when you see Rancor activates just kind of goes into your mind and you're like, man, I cannot go down now or I'm done. And if you're at the last generator and you are the Obsession, I would recommend you jump into a locker. It's anytime it's aura reading. Blindness gets rid of the actual ability to read auras. If it's Killer Instinct, that's different. Run away from Killer Instinct. Never hide in a locker near anything with Killer Instinct. They can still see you in lockers. Killer Instinct is that little heartbeat red looking spider web that you see. It's like doo 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 doo. Sounds like a heartbeat. It's like a red spider web. If you're a killer looking at it, if you're a survivor, generally you don't know that you've been killer instinct. But I mean, if like a twin is near you or something like that, run away. Do not jump in a locker. Don't try to be sneaky or stealthy or anything like that. You will be swooped. Remember me? I think this makes exit gates open longer. Yeah. Opening time of both exit gates are increased by 16 additional seconds. The obsession is not affected by this. Every time you hit your obsession with a basic attack, you get a stackable token for 4 seconds, so you can get 4 hits on them. Save the best for last. That's a Michael Myers one. Each time you hit a each time you hit a survivor that is not your obsession with a basic attack, you get a token. You can have a maximum of, I don't remember how much, 8. You gain a stackable 5% cooldown reduction of attacks per token up to a maximum of 40%. Unfortunately, if you hit your obsession, you lose 2 tokens. When a session is sacrificed or killed, you can neither gain nor lose any more tokens. If you use whatever it is that gives you a cooldown of missed attacks by 50%, and then you run this particular thing that'll give you a cooldown on your hits by 90%, and you can swing like a madman. Unfortunately, I think the max you can have is 1 token after well, no. Yeah, I think you can get 1 token if you sacrifice the survivor or the obsession. Let's see, that would be basic. Well, no, because if the obsession is on a hook and they're in a dying state and nobody saves them and you get the 4 hits, you can get all totems or tokens. You can have all 8. You gotta play your cards very well. Scourge, Gift of Pain. Anytime you hook a survivor on a Scourge hook, they get the hemorrhage and mangled status effect till healed. Apparently, they still essentially get the mangled status effect until they are injured again. Well, I think mangled's a little bit higher. They still suffer from a penalty. Pain Resonance, Scourge Hook. Anytime she hooks you onto a hook, generator goes boom, loses 15%. Shadow Burn, I wish they would do something about this perk to make it any type of feasible. All it does is increase FOV for 15 degrees. It's not good. I think this add-on actually makes the game slightly brighter too, if I remember correctly. At least in the past it used to make the game slightly brighter. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember it used to make the game slightly brighter. I don't know if it does because I've never run this perk because it is doo-doo. But, yeah. Shadowborn, maybe Shadow and Lightborn. No, because some people don't want that FOV increase. It would be bad to put it on Lightborn. It would be a blessing for some people and a nerf for others. I don't know, Shadowborn is just so bad. It needs something added to it, or it just needs to be removed altogether. It's so god dang bad. Plus, if you use Shadowborn, people can FOV tech you. like crazy. So you have to be extremely careful. Yeah, I don't see any good about Shadowborn except for, what it does, the increase of FOV. I wouldn't replace a perk slot with it. It needs something. Sloppy Butcher. Any basic attacks give hemorrhage and mangled effect. To heal. Spies from Shadow. Any type of crows disturbed, your killer gets a notification. Spirit Fury. After breaking 2 pallets, the entity will break pallets for you. You still get stunned, but the pallets just explode on your head. Starstruck. This, I still don't know how exactly this works. It's essentially supposed to expose all survivors that come near you or within your terror radius while you're carrying somebody. But it doesn't. And that confuses me. I generally only get the prompt when I first pick somebody up, not while I'm carrying them. But I'm going to read it word for word. Your unmatched showmanship dazzles all. When carrying a survivor, Starstruck activates. Survivors suffer from exposed status effect while in your terror radius. The status effect lingers for 30 seconds after leaving your terror radius. After hooking or dropping the carried survivor, Starstruck deactivates. The status effect persists for 30 seconds for any survivor inside of your terror radius at that moment. Starstruck has a cooldown of 60 seconds once the survivor is no longer being carried. I don't understand Starstruck. I really don't. While you're walking around with people, like in a backpack build, Starstruck should be able to essentially walk around and just bop survivors as you come across them. Bink, bink, bink. When any killer is carrying a survivor, they move at the default 4.6 meters per second. Even Nurse, who's slow, gets her speed buffed to 4.6 when she's carrying a survivor. Keep that in mind. Slow killers, if you need that extra speed to catch another survivor, pick a survivor up and get that speed boost. With agitation on top of that, you can move even faster. Which is what makes agitation so good, because the speed can keep increasing. Run that with Mad Grip. I think that's the one I'm thinking of, where you have no hit cooldown and you can literally just zoom. Never have to worry about miss attacks because you can just keep swinging. Very good. Very good indeed. Starstruck is kind of a hit and miss for me, though. I want to know how it completely works, because if I have somebody on my shoulder and somebody tries to body block me, I've hit people that have been trying to do things like that, and Starstruck just been like, nah, bro, I don't feel like activating. But then other times, I've done the same thing and they've went down, so I don't know. Very weird. Until otherwise proven to me, I'm going to always say that Starstruck activates as soon as you pick a survivor up, not as you're carrying them and moving around. And if I keep the terminology to as soon as Starstruck activates as soon as you pick somebody up, I am 100% correct regardless of which way it goes. Which is why I use the terminology in which I do. As soon as you pick somebody up, Starstruck activates. Even if it still lasts while you're carrying them or whatever, my terminology is still correct. Strider, breathing sounds, grunts of pain are louder. Surveillance, you can see the auras of interrupted generators. Or no, opposite. If generators that are regressing are being worked on, you can see the auras of them. Territorial imperative, anybody going in the basement, within your tear radius or 32 meters, you can see their aura. No, you get a notification now, right? No, it is aura now. It used to be a notification, now it's aura. Gotcha. That and a phobia, they changed. Now it's a stacking buff for any injured, dying, or hooked survivor. They get a 5% penalty in speed. The actions. I'm trying to go so fast and I'm just stumbling over words. I'm almost done though. Thrilling Tremors. I used this on my ghost face. What I was talking about earlier, when you pick up a survivor, all generators not being repaired are blocked for the next 16 seconds. They are shown in highlights to you in white. It does have a cooldown of 60 seconds, but I mean generally that's one per activation, unless survivors are dumb and are running out in front of you. Tinkerer, 75% generator progress done. You get a noise notification. It's not necessarily loud. It's just kind of a... It's not loud at all, not compared to other things. So I'd say a very soft notification that can be missed if you're not paying attention. And you get the undetectable status effect for the next 16 seconds. Trail of Torment. If you kick a generator, you become undetected until the generator is touched. Everybody in the match can see the generator that you kick highlighted in yellow though. Cooldown 60 seconds. Unnerving Presence. Any survivors healing or repairing in your tear radius get increased chances to get a skill check, and then the skill check zones are shrink by 60%. Unrelenting is what I was thinking about, and I thought it was 50%. It's 30%. I don't run Unrelenting a lot. Reduces cooldown of missed basic attacks by 30%. That stacked with the other one would give you an 80%, not a 90% decrease. 80%. Whispers. You literally get whispers if you're within, 32 meters of a survivor. Very good. I used to run it on Doctor when I first started out. That's old Doctor, not new Doctor. New Doctor is kind of useless too, because you can just radar ping them. Old Doctor, if you weren't running a full map, Madness build, you would just get whispers, pull out your hand, and then passively anybody that's in the area would build up their madness. You would just stand there for a little bit. The next thing you know, they would scream because they would go up a level in madness, and then you would pursue them. Whispers was very, very OP for Old Doctor. And then Zanshin Tactics. I've never seen this. You are mentally alert and aware of key points on the battlefield. The auras of breakable walls, pallets, and windows are revealed to you within 32 minutes. That is absolutely useless for killer. Windows of opportunity, I would argue is useless to survivors once they have any type of experience. But even if you're a killer and you just don't know, it's your first time playing, it's useless to you. Because when you're trying to learn the game and all of that, what you should be learning is how to cut off loops and how to chase properly, how to zone, use your abilities, things like that. If you're new, what's knowing breakable walls and pallets and windows and things like that? What's the location of those to you? What are they going to help you with? I guess they can help you zone a survivor. If you know a pallet's gone some particular place, well, like I said, if you're new, it doesn't help you. And if you're more experienced, you're going to be running more meta perks or a build that you particularly like. But every killer has its meh perk, so there you go. And then a very fast honorable mention. And that finishes the entire list of perkery doodahs. Little over an hour, but that's completely fine. Like I mentioned, it was just for myself, so I now know what exists out there. So when I'm doing reviews, I can be more accurate and know what I'm looking for, etc., etc. It's been bothering me for some time because I knew these perks existed, but I didn't know their names or how to find them or anything like that. Now I do. As you can see, it's 8 p.m. now, my turn, or my time. I did wake up late. I mean, Thanksgiving does that to people and messes up sleep schedules and a whole bunch of other things. Not to mention family and having a little bit of a rough week. I ain't gonna lie to you. The creations forum is kind of moving slow due to Thanksgiving, so I am kind of stalling before I go back to doing any type of reviews. Because, well, I essentially don't want to run out of content and then just be sitting there like, well, I guess I'm streaming Rocket League or Dead by Daylight or something like that. Also, another thing that I would like to mention, if anybody makes it this far, is that I think I am going to start streaming gameplay specifically on Twitch, archiving it into my actual PC itself, and then re-uploading it to YouTube. It's going to take a long time to get those archives on YouTube, or find a way to just stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. I don't think it's possible. At least I don't think my computer can, because, well, my RAM's not that big, but might try that one day or something like that, because, as I mentioned kind of jokingly in the last video, I would get a heck of a lot more views if I actually played games on Twitch, and then I would get the views when doing creation reviews and things like that on YouTube. But I haven't decided yet. Like, I'm not a Twitch partner, so I can't get any type of partnerships or donations or any type of monetary gain from Twitch. It just gives views, so it's kind of like meh. I don't know. I would stream both if I could. I mean, there are websites that allows you to just send your encryption information to this website. The website then pulls from both sources, and you can stream dual on both. There are websites and things like that and programs for that, where it won't just completely eat up my RAM. I'll only be sending one stream. But I mean, like I said, I would only want to send gameplay to Twitch, which means during mid-stream, messing with YouTube, I would have to end my stream, restart my stream, and then start gaming, which could be absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know. It's just something I've been debating on. Because I keep getting a lot of people telling me, hey man, go to Twitch. It's very popular right now. Game's very popular. You should go to Twitch, man. You can guarantee at least get a couple of views. It's like, I know I'm not going to get partnered, and I don't even know if I can be donated to, honestly. I'd have to probably set something up. But, regardless, I'm just popping the top of the soda can, letting it fizzle a little bit. Thanks for stopping by, and as always,